So I'm so glad that we're able to finally sit down and talk. And it's been a long morning, but we're here now, so yeah, we're going to get on with it. So I'd really like you ladies to introduce yourselves. Obviously, I'm Jess.
And I'm Lola.
Yes, my name's Ngozi Fulani. I am the CEO of Sistah Space, which is an organisation supports African and Caribbean heritage women and girls affected by domestic and sexual abuse.
Thank you.
My name is Rose. I am with Sistah Space. I am the
acting. We're sharing the role.
Yeah,
you're sharing. Okay.
Yeah. We're sharing the role due to circumstances.
Okay.
Sistah Space and Sistah Space. We are and have been and are currently and still are on a big journey.
Amazing.
So it's been
but we should say
lovely.
that we are both qualified, independent domestic sexual violence advisors.
Wow. Yeah.
And I myself hold the title of independent the domestic and the sexual. So we're IDVAs and we're ISVAs.
Okay. Okay. So Lola kind of brought this topic on the table, and I think it's a topic that's quite important, and it's a topic that's, for whatever reason, is very, very on trend for whatever reason this season. I think with COVID and people kind of been stuck indoors, and with partners, there's an increase.
And we've noticed,
there's an increase.
There's a spike in domestic violence.
A big spike, actually. And there's a lot of triggers at the moment. You can go onto your phone and it's left, right and centre. And this topic is especially important to the both of us because it's something that we witnessed quite young. And in a way it's definitely shaped our journey and how we kind of, look at domestic violence and how, it shaped our experience of domestic violence. So I think it's something that we need to discuss because there's so many people out here who,
And when we were looking to speak to advocates, and especially women of colour, we found that there's not a lot of women of colour that are actually advocates for domestic violence. And that's probably why I reached out to you, because I'm more interested in why it's women of colour that go through the most, probably abuse, but seek the least help.
Two things. One is the term domestic violence kind of identifies like the physical part of it.
Right.
We want to make clear that domestic abuse, as we call it, the violence is part of it, but there's so many parts of it. There's coercion and control, there's financial abuse, there's harassment, there's
stalking,
so much. So just to make that, even if we do call it domestic violence, we're talking about
there's an umbrella.
Okay. So what's the right term to use?
So there's an argument out there about domestic violence, because we can also argue that no matter what you're doing, it doesn't have to be physical, it's still violence.
Right.
So either term can apply. The reason we like to say abuse, as I said, is because we've found that women often think, well, he's not actually hitting me, so maybe there's no problem here. And we need to make that clear as we go on. But also you spoke about black and brown people. And I think we need to make clear, African and Caribbean heritage women and girls have a very different journey than perhaps other cultures. And what we found on this journey is that we have a lot of people that don't look like us speaking for us.
Right.
And we really need to do that, something about that. For example, the title BAME, or B-A-M-E, is a discriminatory title. It places various cultures in one bracket. And those people then think it's okay that they can speak on behalf of all black and brown people. And our story is very distinctive.
It is.
Yeah.
We're going to go hard today. We're going to talk up to
We have to, because there's people listening who this is their only outlet. Do you know what I mean? They're still in the situation, and this is the only way that they can, you know, relate to somebody else. This is the only way that they can kind of find escape. And I'm hoping that this conversation is going to be something where someone's going to listen and it's going to encourage them to seek help if they're
because I
situation.
think we have a historic pattern of you don't air out your dirty laundry
as black people.
As black people and black women. And I feel like even if you don't seek public help publicly, when you see conversations like this being had, it will kind of jug something in you to get the help you need. That it's not just an isolated incident. It's not, because I think sometimes with abuse you think you're the only one going through this.
For some people it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing,
Also, as well as talking to other women and girls about domestic abuse, we also need to change things at policy level. And Sistah Space is part of a group that supports domestic abuse survivors pan-London. And what we found is that a lot of the issues that are being faced now is because the people making the decisions about us not only don't look like us, they don't understand us, and they want to talk for us.
Exactly.
The recent domestic abuse bill, the new one, we weren't even consulted, and we are the only African heritage organisation of its kind.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would say I would go definitely London-wide, but there is no other organisation like us, so that they can go ahead and pass the bill without speaking to us. And when I did inquire, I was told, well, we've spoken to Southall Black Sisters. Southall Black Sisters do wonderful work. They're a fantastic organisation, but they don't support African and Caribbean heritage women and girls. It can be an issue because they do say that they support Caribbean women. Number one, the distinction between African and Caribbean heritage women is not theirs to make.
Absolutely.
And number two, no, you don't. The term black within other cultures is a relatively recent thing, and it's doing so much damage within our community. Because being politically black, I don't exactly know what that means. I just know that you can access more funding, and you can go home and you can take off your blackness, or you can put down your political correctness or whatever. How dare you use our struggle to make your point? If we are to fight domestic abuse, and we have to do that because we're stronger together. First of all, you have to realise that you can't step on my canto to get where you need to go, and you certainly can't speak for me. So that, I think, we talk about making changes by making people aware, but we really have to deal with.
And that's what this space is for, because I mean, finding you guys, for me, I think it was relatively easy. You know, most of the domestic violence advocates were were white. And so finding a specific organisation that caters to African heritage and Caribbean heritage, it popped up really easily. So it's strange to me.
We have a fight. You know, the moment we said that we are dealing with this specific group of people, the questions came thick and fast. But why do you need a group for black
Because we
women?
need it. Because we need it.
Well, did you ask that question to the travelling community? Did you ask that question to the LGBT plus community? Did you ask that question to our Muslim family? Did you ask that question to Jewish family? Why is it that when it comes to African heritage women, and we decide that we need to do something for ourselves, everyone needs to question it.
There's some type of
Absolute resistance is one thing, but prevention is another. So you're not only resisting us, you're trying to prevent us from doing what we need to do. And we've had nothing but, I mean, we've had a lot of support from the community. I've got to tell you. You can talk, you can speak to that.
Just to make a point, within the VOAG sector, violence against women and girls, and people working as workers, there are a lot of African Caribbean workers working within the
sector.
There are a lot, but they do just not just, but it's the generic work that they do. We come along and we have been just saying it, how we feel, what we see, what we think, bringing back what survivors and victims have been saying. And so we have gone public, opened our mouth and said that, and that hasn't come across too nice, because the other workers they're there, they're doing the work, and that's how it is. So we come along and we start saying African heritage women. We start saying, no, we will not be called BAME. We don't like that because of this. They say, oh yes, but you can go here and you can be helped, and we're like, well, no, that's not really conducive for us. These are the experiences of the survivors and the victims, and that is not how it goes.
Exactly.
And once we started saying that,
we've come across the most, and it's usually actually white middle class men who are determining what is okay for us and what isn't, where we should be and where we shouldn't. Closely followed by white middle class women, closely followed by mainly South Asian women. So what we're saying is, can we speak for ourselves, please?
Yeah.
We're very capable.
Can we tell our own story?
Our stories are different. I mean, culturally, we're too different. Our culture encourages us to hide pain, keep it moving. Like I said, don't air your dirty laundry. So you can't understand.
Can't and won't. There's a difference here, because if you wanted to understand, then you would ask questions and you would listen. But we, for example, it's very difficult. They have something called honour-based violence. And we've coined the phrase dishonour-based violence.
Dishonour.
Because what can come at you if you go outside your community, outside your culture, and ask for assistance outside because of something that's happening to you within the culture? It's not only directly the perpetrator, the family, the friends, you, the person who has been victimized, becomes the enemy. Very rarely in our community will the family say, you behave bad. You behave bad. You can't treat this person like that. No, it would be like, how dare you go and tell the police or anybody else that he stabbed you, beat you, spat at you, refused you your money, this, that, that. How dare you? You are the problem. Now, once we keep doing that, domestic abuse is going to keep rising.
It's going to keep rising,
and it is rising.
And more women are going to sadly
Can I
die.
just bring it all the way back, because I want to talk about the foundation of being exposed to domestic violence, and then how
very early on.
So for me, I mean, I think a lot of the time with African black communities, our first time we're exposed to domestic violence, unfortunately, is within our parents. And the way it was approached was, we weren't going to hide it from the child. We're doing it right in front of the child. And I remember a very specific time, because I wasn't raised here, I was raised in Ghana. And then I came here, and then all of a sudden I have this mum, I have this dad, and then, my brother and my sister. And I remember specifically, and it's never left me, that memory has never ever left me. My dad's come in from work in the morning, and we're getting ready to go to school. And I think they were arguing on the phone that evening. And he sort of approached my mum, sort of like, what was you saying earlier, that, yesterday you was calling me names, whatever, and then you struck her. And I'm there, I'm in my school uniform.
This is in front of you.
This is in front of me. And my siblings, I remember they were there, but they're so young. My sister's 7 years. She doesn't have that recollection. And I remember my mum saying, you see, look, you see, that's what he's been doing to me. And I'm thinking,
so she's done that, she said that to you?
Yeah. Right. So I'm thinking, whoa, First of all, I seen it, but you don't need to make sure that I see it. You're telling me, the child, you see, that's what he does. And I'm thinking, there's such an...
and I feel when you're that young, sorry to cut you, when you're that young and you experience that amount of violence, people don't understand the effects of what it does to you. So for me, I saw, knives being pulled out, I saw everything happen, and I was way too young to stop a man that's the build of a rugby player.
Right.
And my head will hit. We had this alcohol globe, and he'll fling me because I was just so slim, skinny. And you have to wake up that morning and still go to school like everything is normal.
That's
your
what
grades
I
get affected,
That's
your
what it is.
concentration, you're naughtier in school. And growing up, when you first start dating, when the first step of violence or abuse happens to you,
it's normalized.
the red
That's
flag
it.
now looks like a green flag.
You've got no
I felt
idea.
comfortable because this is common to me. This is something I'm familiar with. So this must be love.
And you're the person who you saw being abused never left the situation. So
Never
why
left
am
the
I going to
situation.
leave?
So why should I leave?
First of all, I want to acknowledge you both in this space. I want to say thank you for sharing that, because it's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy because it's almost like you're telling on your mother, or you're airing your, and really you were two young people who experienced something you should never have to. And I don't think people always realise that domestic abuse affects everybody. It doesn't only affect the person being victimised. I love my mother, and I love my father. He was a good man. I can't imagine ever seeing somebody hurt my mother's, my lifeline, my food, my comfort, my everything. I don't know what that would do to me. But I want to address the brothers directly for a moment, if I may. And I want to address those older brothers who they get to a certain age and maybe calm down now, and you have not dealt with what you put your family through.
100%. This is it. 100%.
You continue on like that was in the past.
It never happened even.
Normal.
Or it never happened.
Yeah.
Or even worse, she deserved it.
Yes.
She made me do it. This we need to spend some time on, maybe later, even another show, because I don't think that we can cover
There's
everything.
a whole lot going on there.
Yeah.
We can never cover it in one
But I
episode.
want to address the older brothers, but I also want to address the younger brothers who are picking up this crap and making excuses for their behaviour, and it is not on. But I also want to address family members, brothers and friends who know that this is happening. You've seen your friend, your brother, your son, your whoever attack physically or otherwise somebody else, and your silence makes you complicit in this.
100%.
You need to know that you have to say this is wrong, because if not enough of us are saying no, then you give the message that it's okay, and it isn't.
And when you do this, when this amount of violence takes place in front of a male child, you give your son ammunition to do it when he's in a relationship, because he doesn't know how else to handle conflict. Because how we handle conflict in our home is violence. So when he's dating, when he gets upset, the same thing he's going to handle, how he's going to handle conflict is what he saw growing up.
The question is, or we can phrase it around, who said and when did we
Start to say.
I mean, I don't know where my mum picked that up, but I picked that up from my mum, because she never opened her mouth about it. And I've been in my room and there's been banging, and I always said to myself, why does she keep trying to drag me into this? I'm a child. I'm 12, I'm 11, I'm 10, just trying to go to school, and I go to school and I've got these, white friends, and I'm just ignorantly, I'm thinking they don't have to go through this. They have not just had to spend the whole night worried because your mum is
household.
Yeah,
and it's different.
And it's completely different. And my mother never, ever, ever, ever spoke about it. She was very, very okay with, did you see your dad, do that? Did you,
I wouldn't use the word
right
okay.
now.
I hear you, but the word okay, because I think there's a thing called, this is not what we're doing, but there's a thing called victim blaming. Yeah. Now, you were the only person in the room, probably, that maybe could...
I was the oldest.
You were the oldest,
and I was the
right?
oldest female, right.
And I can't imagine the fear.
Yeah.
I can't, right? We have to make our family understand it isn't okay to have this discussion around what's happening with you, with your young... We have to... Because I don't think a lot of us understand that transference.
I have a child.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way I could be doing or going through something like that and then be like, oh, Elijah, do you know that this man is throwing me? I can't get my head around it.
So
So
it's because yeah. Okay, so let's just go back just a little bit based on the questions that we just said. So we know culturally our experiences have dictated and shaped why we go through what we go through.
Yes.
So just a mention of our enslavement period, but remember some of our brothers and sisters on the continent didn't go through an enslavement period, but some of us in the Caribbean went through, and not all of us that went through it, some of us went through it. But also, culturally, I have to mention the church, because the church and religion is very,
let me just
very
take a sip because
important.
Oh my God.
Before you go to the church, because that's going to really go somewhere else, because we're going to need to be dealing with that on some different level.
It's just
the tip of the...
just a mention of where we learn to keep quiet,
Oh,
where we learn not to say.
And we need to go there, but I just wanted to say this thing. And I think it's always good to take a moment. We lived in a different time then to now.
Yeah.
When you were younger and your mum was... Probably nobody would show her how to deal with that. I remember my older Caribbean parents, on learning that a disturbance, we'll call it a disturbance, happened in the house, would say, oh, you know, make him something nice to eat, give him, calm him down.
Calm him down, yeah.
Therefore implying that
your fault.
you are the issue,
him, yeah.
right? You anger, you know, and perpetrators are great at what they do. Excuses, you know, you made me do it, honey. I didn't want to do it. And then we're naturally caregivers. Yeah, we're nurturers. Yeah. Well, how can we fix him?
And I love that you spoke about the umbrella of abuse, because before, I feel there's such thing as like a battered woman syndrome, but I feel like before you get that physical abuse, I feel the outside effect of physical abuse is happening inside with emotional abuse.
Come on. Yep.
And you're already, by the time you're getting physically abused, that man
he's
already worked you on the inside.
Yeah.
So you're already confused sometimes, because it's like you said, when I used to witness it, you know, we would have a family meeting, excluding me, you know, the grandmas will come, the aunties, the elders of the family will come, and within 24 hours, he's back in the home.
Wow.
You within 24 hours.
Culturally, because those of us who were born and raised in the UK, we didn't have the extended family, some of us.
That's right.
So anything that happened, you living on the street, you're probably the only black family. Ain't nobody caring what's happening to you.
That's right.
You hollering and you screaming. Back in the day,
Yeah.
the police would come and tell you it's a domestic
It's a domestic
issue,
yourself.
yeah.
And then
Can't
it
get
would
involved.
pee him off, like you call the police and you're
Yes.
going to get part 2 and 3.
Part two.
Yeah. So, I mean, these conversations really, really have to be had. I think we learn from each other. Yeah. We are one people, but our cultures take us to our point from different journeys.
Do we think our culture understands what abuse is?
Yes. I say yes.
Do we?
I say yes, because a lot of our parents, aunties and so on knew what the abuse was when they was back home. And then back home they had to come here with it. But they just didn't have the time, a lot of them just didn't have the time, the resources or anything to get to deal with it. But the women would sit down and talk and know that what happened.
I would say no.
So for me, no. It would be a no for me.
It would definitely be
I say
but
yes.
I
understand what you're saying.
I value.
I understand what you're saying, but for me, I feel like even when you talk about, you know, my parents came from back home.
Yeah.
My parents came back from back home, and
Where is back home?
Ghana. So there, if you're a man beating your wife, that's just a domestic indoor situation.
That's true.
That doesn't make it that you
your
don't
business.
know.
But my experience is that a lot of the women don't know. It's become so normalised that
if your husband
beats you, it's because you didn't make the
soup
jollof.
That's
You didn't,
it.
you didn't put enough
do
in
what
it.
you were meant to do.
That's
right?
why I feel like.
And it's also the religious thing as well. You're married for life.
The man owns you.
He owns you. This isn't all that.
Yeah. So that for me, it's a very important question, because there is no right or wrong answer to that actually. Because what Rosanna is saying is correct, but what we're all saying is correct. It's that if you don't know an offence is being committed, why would you recognise that there's a problem that needs to be solved? You see, if
and I've asked the question. I've asked the question of, do you love her? Why do you beat her? Of course I love her. I'm like, but you don't, because you beat her. But I beat you. I love you. You're my child. And I'm like, but she's not your child. That's why I feel there's a disconnect that they don't know, because there's a disconnect between what discipline is and what abuse is of kids. And I feel a lot of...
this is that journey again, because I remember I didn't come from a very violent home, I don't think. But then again, we are 7. The older ones may have a different memory.
Absolutely.
Yeah? I don't know that...
They've got a different experience of your parents than you do.
But I do remember my father was the greatest man I've ever known. Yeah, I loved him. But I remember he didn't really take my mum anywhere. She had 7 of us. He did what he was meant to do. He went to work, he paid for his half of the this and the bills and all that. And he came to every school and nobody could touch us on that. But I know my mother would have a different story.
Absolutely.
Right?
She's got different experience.
Because it's not all the time that any dispute that took place would take place in front of us. So maybe we were shielded by that time. You spoke of being the oldest and you saw certain things.
I think,
But I tell you that my father was a giant. He was the God force in my house.
So is mine,
but when he came outside the house, any 17-year-old white boy could tell my dad anything. Yeah? You understand? So his power outside the house was taken away. In the house, and there is no excuse for domestic abuse, but we're looking at a journey here. And in the house, the staff that many came to the UK from different places, right? And I've got to tell you what men and women endured, right? Has a major part in how, I mean, obviously we brought it from back home and we brought it from other places, but we also have to look at our journey here, because that impacts also what happens in the house. When you're living in a state that doesn't even see you as a human being, right? You have to, your power, you're castrated, if you will, outside. So in the house, you take it out on the closest person to you. It is not an excuse. Be clear. It's not a reason. I'm not calling it a reason. I'm telling you what we saw. The journey. All right? And that's why a lot of the black women, they don't like to report abuse to the police, because they know that abuser, if he gets taken away by the police, it may be that he never returns, or he doesn't return the same way. So we don't have the same issues, like all cultures go through domestic abuse. But ours is significantly higher. That when our brothers and sisters come across police, it is a likelihood that they're not going to return all right, if at all. So that's something that we have to consider when we're fighting.
So I think that's a very important point, because it's a very, very important point, because it comes down to, even when you want to report the abuse, even when you want to seek help, you are still worried, because
racism.
You're still reporting a black person to a white institution. You're scared of what's going to happen to your abuser.
You want the abuse to stop. You don't want the person to die.
It's crazy. It's crazy that we have to think about that, and at the same time trying to save ourselves. And most of the time we don't choose ourselves. We choose the abuser, because we don't want them to die when we, report.
But also when we report the abuse, more often than not, we're met with police who don't believe us.
Right.
Yes.
Strong person like you.
I've had an
How
incident.
can somebody beat you?
I've
I
had an
don't believe
incident.
that can happen.
Yeah.
So you're not believed,
Yeah.
and you're going to be ridiculed. Why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah.
And it's the shame of it.
It's so much of that, yeah.
It's the shame of it, you
Yeah.
know, of not being believed, having to go through all that trouble. I mean, for me, when I called the police on one of my exes for a domestic issue, the first phone call I had from his mum was, "Why would you ever call the police? Why would you ever do that? Look now,
not
he's
what has he
sitting in a
done.
cell."
Not what has he
That
done.
wasn't
Not are you
important.
okay? But it's like, why are you doing that?
That wasn't important. It's like,
You
how
know?
could you ever call the police? Now he's in a cell. Like, no, you don't do that. And then my mum found out. She called me. I was like, you don't do that.
Now, what
are you
okay,
teaching
so
us?
what if you've gone through domestic abuse and the people who are supposed to care for you, the elders, the ones closest to you, are
Exactly.
saying you did something wrong,
Exactly.
Yeah.
right? But
Exactly.
not only what message is it sending to the
Sending, yeah.
perpetrator?
That's what I mean when,
He's
when we
saying
talk about
it's okay.
ripple effect.
Yeah.
How does that ripple into our lives now? Like, how do we now navigate if something ever happens to us? We've been taught that don't tell
keep
your
quiet,
business, you
yeah.
keep quiet. But how do we heal when we're always trying to protect the
Programs
the
like
abuser?
this are so essential. Yeah. No, I have to
Yeah.
say it. Well done to
Speaking out,
you. Yes.
speaking out and forming Sistah Space and challenging
Absolutely.
and not taking no for an answer.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Having our voices heard.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to hear us, you know what?
Yeah.
Tough.
Because we are our
This is what
sisters'
it is.
keepers.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
That is the
Yeah.
way to go forward.
Because they are their sisters' keepers. Other races, the unity I see amongst other races, they are their sisters' keepers. It's amongst us that I feel
There's
we're
a problem
so
where of us
divided.
we're
But
divided.
we also had a
But
rites
they-
of
they-
passage, didn't we? We used to have this thing called the rites of passage in some African countries and Caribbean countries. It showed you how to develop from a child to an adult,
Yeah.
the rights and wrongs. It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
So everybody was involved in the raising of
Of a child.
You couldn't do something down the road
Yeah.
and auntie such and such
I
from
was-
down there.
I
come
was
and
raised
jack
in a
you up.
village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Alright.
raised in a village. I didn't have I didn't, grow up with my mom and dad, and we lived in a house where it was my grandmother and all her siblings, and all of them raised us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I had a different perspective of what a family unit
Exactly.
is.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
understand? It really took a village
exactly.
to
Yeah.
raise me.
Yeah.
It's only when I
It
came to this
does.
country I was like, oh, so everyone has a mum
Everyone's
and a dad.
individual, yeah.
I didn't know that, growing up. And so it's now coming to sit here and then realise that these people are not, the family that I'm used
And back
to.
home, your neighbours are in your business. It's not
I couldn't-
neighbours, it's your
I
family.
couldn't
your
walk down the
street,
street.
the family.
Extended.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk down
You
the
walk
street.
down your street and
If they'd be like,
the
everyone
person
can
that's selling
discipline
milk
you.
knows
We
you.
still do that.
We still do.
And our own, like myself and Rosanna, we know a lot of people, and if we see, you're supposed to be like, get yourself to school.
Exactly.
Get yourself to school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you will get the parents saying, I heard you saw my son on the street and,
And
you
you're
told them
shouting,
something. Can you
and
not tell
it's
him
a problem. Yeah.
So if we can't guide
Guide kids, yeah.
our own family, our kids, if we can't do that, if the structure is in place to protect the perpetrator, and it is within the community, then we need to, first thing we need to do is begin to recognize what abuse is.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And we're going to go to that church thing because we've got to go there. But I
Yes.
think once we get there, we're not going to come out of church for a while. Yeah?
Hallelujah.
So, anyhow, so there's a program called The Colour Purple.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of the viewers have seen that. If they haven't, they should, because Colour Purple looks at every aspect of familial abuse that there can be.
Right.
And a lot of the abuse we don't like to talk about is sexual abuse
Right.
and rape. They're not always the same
Right.
thing.
Okay.
You know.
Our oldest client is in the 70s.
Wow.
Let me tell you, why do we think that abuse is going to stop at a certain age?
Wow.
No.
70.
Let me tell you, and that it goes on to 80s. It goes on to. I've spoken to
crazy.
someone who's about was she
We've spoken
83?
to,
She's not our client, but she's.
83.
He just give me yes. Okay, abuse,
Follows
domestic
you.
abuse has no age.
Wow.
It has no date.
Yeah.
It has no time.
No
It couldn't
face.
care what colour or race you
Absolutely.
are.
Yeah.
Has no gender. It has no non-gender.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you are or wherever you come from, you're going to find that. But we're talking about for example, the Windrush generation, and we call ourselves first generation Black British. It's our parents that came from the Caribbean.
Yes.
Do you think domestic abuse wasn't at its height then? Who are they going to tell? No blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Yeah? They were getting abused from when they got off the ship. They were getting abused.
On the ship.
On the ship, yeah.
On the ship before they got on. I mean, look, we need to be having these conversations. Yeah.
And I wanna talk about how we have these conversations. Like, so now I know better. I know that you know what happened in my household wasn't right. So I want to talk about, now that we're here, you know, have you ever had a conversation with your parents about this type of...
You see, this is what I mean by battered woman syndrome. For me, I feel like I can't have that conversation because there's resistance. I've just, like you said, you know better. The reason why I know better is because I've done the work. I've had my therapy. I've had to realize that this is not a lifestyle I want. This is not pathology. This is not a lifestyle I want to bring my kids. This is not something I'll ever want. I want it to stop there at that generation.
So we're breaking the cycle in this generation.
I want to break the cycle. And I had to take it's a conscious effort, because you don't know. You get trapped. It's like a life trap. It's like I said, if abuse is familiar to you, red flags look like green flags. Red flags to me looks like
them coming.
You don't see them coming.
What does a healthy relationship look like? Is the question, I guess. Yeah.
We don't know, because we haven't been shown that.
I want to tell you how actually Sistah Space became involved in the domestic abuse. It was Valerie Ford.
Yeah. I read about it.
45-year-old woman from Hackney. She was the manager of a centre.
Yeah.
Ironically, she used to help a lot of people who had domestic abuse problems. She was going through something for a while. I think she shared certain things with her older daughter.
Right.
And, you know, younger people have an instinct for these things, and I don't think her daughter really liked the guy who was her stepfather, but 3 other children were born of this relationship. It came to a head where, look, abuse starts sometimes, it escalates, so it doesn't usually start with all of a sudden from nowhere, like a blow.
It doesn't.
It's there. There's a seed there from the beginning.
Exactly.
Now, on this occasion, I know that Valerie had said to this guy, we will not give him title. You know, you need to move out. I haven't got anywhere to go. You've got 3 months. 3 months to find somewhere. Yeah? He's not contributing to the house. He's not, you know, like, okay, I can't find a job, but I can do this.
Yeah.
So she woke up, and it takes us a long time sometimes to wake up, but she was, on the 31st of March, that's when she said, well, you know, you've got to go. That morning, he expects her to change her mind, because that's what happens.
Yes.
We get worn down.
We
feel sorry.
You don't know
They
your
do
options.
the right thing for 2 or 3 days, and
then you come back.
Yeah. Right. But she, at this time, she had previously said, look, he's threatened to burn the house down with me and the kids
in it. What did I say?
And the police put down that as a threat to property, not a threat to life. Now, when you go to the police and you make a report, certain things are supposed to be put in place.
Yes.
It's supposed to kickstart some protection.
It's supposed to be
taken
taken seriously. Yeah.
When you put down a threat to property, what happened is somehow he's back in the house, and this particular morning, as I said, she decided, you've got to go.
Yeah.
Now he's acting strange, she said. He keeps going downstairs. She finds her daughter.
I don't know. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, and I've got to tell you, because, and I've also got to advise your viewers that this is going to be a traumatic story. Yeah. But unfortunately for some, they don't have the option of checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do this.
We're going to do it. Yeah.
And I respectfully say, if someone feels that they can't, that it will trigger, then take a break now.
Yeah.
She finds her daughter, and she says he's acting strange. He keeps going downstairs. Daughter's at work. She leaves the line open. The last thing she hears is her mum make a sound. She hears her baby sister, 23 months, screaming in the background. She's sick. She has the presence of mind to say to a colleague, call the police.
Yeah.
I think the police got there within 6 minutes, but took 13 minutes to gain entry, right? By the time they got there,
they knocked on the door, went to her workplace.
Well, they knocked on the door, she didn't answer the door, so they went to her workplace. I mean, they looked through the letterbox, she's on the 3rd floor. We will never know if they could have changed the baby, saved the baby, right? But this is where it gets graphic, and I'm going to tell you. He used a machete, a screwdriver, and a hammer to take out his ex-partner and his own 23-month, their baby. And the reason I think it's important, and we have the blessings of
telling the story.
We have permission from that same daughter to tell the story, because she wants, the family want this never to happen again.
Of course.
Right? Because the police were there. Yeah? She has shared a story with us that we can't go into. Yeah? She has to do that at her own time. But what I'm saying to people is this is not no joke. This is not something that happens to somebody else. Yeah? This is something that could happen to you, your sister, your daughter, your next door neighbour, your work, your colleague, your whatever. You have a duty of care also.
It just happened to Barbara Tommy a few days ago.
Yeah.
You know.
So this Ghanaian lady,
pastor,
who was married to a pastor, and he'd been abusing her, and the brother stepped in. Chose to go to the house and remove her from the situation, which I think it's such an honourable thing to do, because sometimes you, the one that's been abused, has no strength, no mental strength, no physical strength to do what you need to do. And you need a circle, you need protection, but for whatever reason, there's a trap in your mind that, there's no life without, where you're at.
Sorry, not only that, but this person, nobody knows the perpetrator like the victim.
Right.
The victim will know. Some are aware, this person's going to kill me. I can't make anybody understand. He's not playing. He's going to kill me.
Right.
But then there's going to be others
who can't voice it.
It's just
because nobody, because you've spoken to your family, you might have mentioned it to somebody, and they're saying, "Call the police or do this or do that."
What I found interesting about this story is that when the brother was there trying to get her out, and the brother actually fought the guy, and there was certain things she was saying in the video that I just couldn't understand. She just kept saying, "Oh, leave him alone. Don't call the police. It's going to escalate."
She knew,
and I think she knew in her heart of heart that this man is dangerous.
She was worried for her brother.
But she also was worried for herself, right? Because the whole time she didn't have eye contact with him.
When somebody says they're going to kill you, and
they
mean it,
that's what
I
said.
Mean it.
I said we had this conversation yesterday, because there's no way it's a very random. It's not a random thing to say. Do you know what I mean? We all have fights. We all have arguments. You don't open your mouth, "I'm going to kill you." And I feel like when somebody said they're going to kill you, they've probably already thought about killing you. Do you understand?
They probably tried it. They've already tried it. There's a lot of things that the public or her family will never know. Because there are more things that they don't know. Right? How many times can I keep telling you, "I'm afraid"? Right? But what people need to know is that a woman is at the greatest danger, and a man or whatever, when she decides to leave that relationship. Because that's when the perpetrator is losing control. He's losing control. And he would rather see you dead
than lose control,
than have you on the street enjoying your life.
That's a narcissist
I feel like that's what raised his anger. Not that it was the brother's fault at all. Is that when your ego is that fragile, right? And now you already have control over the victim, but when an outsider comes in and puts you to shame, it's like
knocked you out, because
it knocks you out. It's like you have to get back. It's like that.
He's blaming her. He's not blaming himself for his behaviour.
No,
you brought this man to my house and humiliated me. You're going to pay with your life.
That's it.
And this, I mean, everybody's shocked, but do you think that this is a one-off thing?
Of course
not. Everybody dies.
Number
one, I sat on a homicide review, I'm not going to say where or when, where it wasn't a homicide review, it was a near homicide review, because she hasn't actually died. She's just brain dead. Once the heart is still going, it can't be a homicide. So he's more or less got away with murder.
Wow.
Yeah? So what I say that to say this, there are so many different levels of death and injury. Because death for me is not when your heart stops beating alone.
No, it's not.
It's when you've sufficiently mashed up
Killed
the
my
person.
spirit,
Killed
Right.
Suicide.
Right.
Yeah, through because of domestic abuse. You should be also charged with murder.
Of course.
Yeah. So we need to be more proactive as a people, right? And let
To
me make clear,
identify.
look, we specialise in African and Caribbean heritage women and girls, but we don't turn away anybody.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
We don't.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in fact, if somebody, a
a different
Caucasian
race,
came and
yeah.
said, you know, we will listen to you, and then where we can refer you on, because we don't have the resources to help everybody.
Yeah.
And we see that. We hope that there will come a time when
We
our
do.
service is not needed, because mainstream will be able to support all of us. But as it does, right now we work with MOPAC, the mayor's office in
Yeah.
London,
Yeah.
and they're paying one person
Yeah.
Yeah.
to support Pan London. One role supports Pan London, African and Caribbean heritage women and girls. Well, first of all, thank you for recognising that the service is needed. But can you please understand that one person can't support Black People Pan London? And secondly, there was a fund available from MOPAC, so that because of COVID, we've had a more than 300% rise in cases.
Yeah.
We applied for additional funding because of that. Do you know we got turned down for it? Yeah. So I'm not here because you paid me and I'm gonna do what you want me to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I'm here for. Yeah, it's to tell the truth. I don't care what if
that
if
sounds
MOPAC
like.
decide they don't want to work with us anymore. Then take your money, MOPAC, and go about your business.
Right.
Yeah, that goes for anybody else. So I'm not having
Yeah.
a go at MOPAC, because, as I said, we recognise that you have recognised that we are needed.
We are needed,
But it is
yeah.
not enough,
Yeah.
because we need to see more people that look like us
Yeah.
making the decisions about things that affect us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and stop putting anybody who goes under the heading of BAME, as I said, discriminatory. Yeah. To speak for us, because
yeah.
nobody has hair
The feedback,
like ours.
the feedback that we've had at being there, because we do things our way, how we feel.
Authentically.
So, for example, we would do tea cakes and juices, and people would come. and
Mango
we
morning, we
would-
call it, not coffee morning. It's mango morning.
And the sisters would come, brothers as well, and we would talk about it. People would
Yeah.
disclose. People would ask questions.
Yeah.
We were at Homerton Hospital. We were selling cakes and that, and you just had everybody who would come, and sometimes a lot of them did disclose. It didn't matter whom it was, but it was doing things a different way
Yeah.
Yeah.
to highlight domestic abuse awareness,
Yeah.
sexual abuse awareness, etc. And that worked very, very well.
And continues to work.
And
Look,
it
our
continues
hair,
to work.
our hair and our skin is different. There's no other culture that got hair. Look, I got looks, yeah. But when we have our natural hair, and we're versatile, we can wear our hair
Anywhere,
or not,
yeah.
yeah. But if it look, this is for mainstream, yeah. I'm gonna give you a minute. Mainstream. If I comb out my hair and go outside in the rain, zoop, zoop, yeah. Which other culture? You can't. We have to. If I don't get up and comb my hair or whatever,
Yeah.
I can't wash and go. This is not a 10-minute fix for me, like the advert says. Wash and go. It's not gonna happen. Yeah. If I wash my hair, I ain't going out for 3 days.
Yeah.
It take that long to
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm saying, our place, people come and see themselves reflected.
That's what I was going to say.
And
yeah.
when I go to court, or when Rosanna goes to court, we don't have to wear your two-piece suit. We will present as we want to present, thank you. Are you saying that our way is not good enough? Are you saying, who's making the decision?
Like, can I just say
Absolutely.
like, how important, and I think I get excited when we come across organisations like yourself, and I just want to touch on a point. As a survivor myself, it's like when you want to get out, you want to go to somebody that looks like you and understands what you've been through, and I think it's really
And that's when the risk is high.
yeah. But it's also it's just so important for you guys to be there for people like
present,
myself and
yeah.
be present, because it's never felt okay. It's never felt comfortable to sort of call the white man and be like, this is happening to me.
Let's say
It's when a sister like yourself and like you are here, and you
And
open
because
your
you
arms and you can
understand,
understand.
we understand the threat as well, because I don't think white and Asian organisations
understand
right?
the culture.
And I'm sick of our mouth being tied. We don't want to say white, we don't want to say Asian.
Tiptoeing around.
Yeah, they don't understand our perpetrators, our men, our culture. They don't understand their danger. Yeah, you don't understand their family. You don't understand.
And the
that you don't understand.
The feedback we get from, as I was saying about all the different ways that we do to raise awareness, and the feedback that we get from the sisters, and even the brothers as well. The feedback that we get. Oh my gosh! So you mean I can say whatever word or whatever I want to say? You mean to say that I can just say he's a this and he's a that, and you overs what I
freedom.
But you know what, you're talking about language in here, right? So if you come in and you said to me, man, tell me what, you know. If I got to the police station and he said
man said
what? Where's the Rolex? If I ask you, right? No matter we all come from different cultures in the room. If I said to you, he said what? What does that say to you?
You already know you're under
that's
threat.
a threat.
That's a threat
of my life.
Right. There's no
we know we can come to you, you're not going to take that lightly. But you go to the white man and he's watch what?
Right. And it's
if he said something in patois.
Like
this is it. So I think it's...
How are you going to explain that to a police officer? That doesn't sound
that's
like,
fascinating.
That's fascinating.
I have a girlfriend that had a boyfriend that was Jamaican. I can't. You know, the thing is that we can laugh and we are light is a way forward. But I will tell you, languaging, and not only that, in terms of you speaking another language, is the way one of our clients, we have to go with our clients to report abuse to the police because we had one that said he held my neck, so they didn't write anything, and we said, what do you mean he held your neck? He and I couldn't breathe, so he was choking you. Yes. Oh, choking me. So you know, it's like the woman, she also said, and next thing I know he was in the room, and then next thing you know he was in. So I said, are you saying what I think? Yeah. I had to say, they're talking about rape. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but is that what you're saying?
Is that what you're saying?
Right? So that we can't even make a report because you don't understand the basic English language. We have a little way of doing things. So that's why we can't go to mainstream, right? Because one of the biggest problems that we have is if you get upset or you get emotional and you're talking to someone from a different culture, usually a white background, sometimes a lot of the IDVAs, independent domestic violence advisors, are trained from outside. They don't come across black people. They're intimidated. Oh, I feel so now you're in the room with your domestic abuse, taking care of her. Do you see? Because she's feeling you were loud and I didn't know, and there was more than two of you. I thought it was a gang, and I don't know. You know, these are the things that we have to talk about. We, and even as professionals, not even as DV victims, as professionals, housing and coming, they treat us a particular way. Police in Bethnal Green, and I'm going to mention Bethnal Green because Bethnal Green has a dedicated DV team, and they are excellent. But to get to that team, we came across somebody who would identify as BAME, a brown man, and he said, "Which one of you is victim?" Right? So your accent is so heavy, I can't even understand how you're cussing me. See? And it's like, no, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be. This is a program, the Taboo Table. We have to talk. So he said,
Taboo Table.
He said, you in the room, you sit.
Gosh.
This is how he's talking to. I'm like, excuse me. So he said, I said to him, call one of the people then, because I know myself. I'm not going to sit in your 9 to 5 down there. How dare you? I'm going to tell you, friend, I can't even understand how you're cussing me. Because, you know, clearly you have not been here long enough to even understand
the sensitivity of the situation.
This sensitive,
right? So
who they come to.
He said, "You talk to me or you talk to no one." I've got my phone out. I recorded it. We always have to take our phone out as professionals, because if we tell you the stuff that we go through, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. Why do I have to have my hair cuffed to the side high heel shoes.
Yes,
Although I
and
do
look
like
the
to
part,
occasional.
yeah.
Oh, I always look the part.
Yeah.
If I'm wearing my African attire, if I'm wearing Caribbean, if I'm wearing a pink tutu, I always look the part.
I mean, look the part. What they think looking
there
the part
right
is.
right.
Do you understand?
Yeah? There's nothing more frightening to them than empowered black women. The church is part of the solution, but sometimes it's a lot of the problem.
It is.
Because pastor's going to tell you. Do you want to talk about it? Pastor's going to tell you.
You brought up the church and
well,
how
I can
that
talk
can
about it because the pastors, I'm not really, I don't really know what the pastors in this country tell you, but I can tell you for a fact the pastors back home.
They're the same here. Because they come from back home.
They come from back home, yeah. They encourage you to stay. They encourage you to, and they be say like, oh, you know, you don't do that, you know, you do, you know, or you forgive.
Yeah, it's okay. He's going through a lot.
He's going through a lot. You forgive. You know, they'll use a Bible scripture to say, you know, like let's say they can't even. Do you know what even bothers me is the therapists back home. The so-called your pastor is your pastor is your therapist.
Yeah.
Right. So if your therapist, the person that you see as the man just below God, is telling you, well, you're not meant to anger him. You know, you respect your husband. You do this. Who are you? Who do you turn to?
You just turn right back and go into that abuse.
And the way women back home worship their pastors.
I was going to say, before you could even think of going outside of that community, as you said, you would go to your headman, the pastor, then you'd go to the next one down, and then you have to go through the women who, because the women run the church, they run things. So you've got to go through so many sets of people before you could even get real help for yourself on the outside, or you have to do it in secret.
We need to talk about FGM as well. The FGM, sorry, go ahead.
I said, and some of the people advising you in church are getting abused themselves.
And they're perpetrators themselves. So that's a very important part. I only encourage people to take a moment and start thinking for yourself. Don't necessarily listen to us. Don't listen to me. Personally, I don't have a middle person between me and the Most High. There is I don't need nobody
in between.
Right?
Because we're all equipped with what's right and wrong.
My relationship with the Most High is between me and the Most High. Cut out the middleman. That's just me. I'm not telling people to do that. But anybody who tries to say to you, stay in an abusive relationship, needs to, and so I would make another plea to the churches out there. We're not trying to bash you, we love the Most High, but think about the advice that you're doing and your role
you're
in domestic
people to
abuse.
their death.
You can't say sorry when someone's passed on.
They're sending people to their death.
You see?
No, literally.
No,
and we were talking about
not that when, but for mental health issues, for depression, for suicidal thoughts, for your image, your internal thing, and as we mentioned right from the beginning about your relationship with your children and your wider family.
And as a church, I feel like if I ever had a church, which I never would because it's not my it's not my ministry, I thought as a pastor you should work closely with people like yourselves, work closely with organizations that you can, if you're not equipped to give advice, proper advice, so you don't know what to do, I thought the church should work with organizations.
It's usually ego, domestic abuse, ego, the church, ego. You will usually find that there's a man at the center of this, and I'm not a male basher. I love man. I got to tell you, bad as that sound, I mean, I love my man. I love brothers. Man. I love brothers. I'm not anti-men. I'm anti-perpetrators. So my thing is, I have come across a hell of a lot of ego. That's getting in the way. You want to be right. Do you want to be right, or do you want the person safe? What is it that you want? So this is why we don't really. It's coming, and we are open. Sistah Space is very open.
Tell us about it. Tell us what we do when we need to seek help. How do we how do we get to you, and you know what is there waiting for us? How do we know that we're going to be safe?
All right. We're real. All right, Sistah Space, first of all, get the spelling right, and you can find us anywhere. Just type it in. SISTAHSPACE. Sistah Space.
Nice.
Now, sister is the way we, as African heritage people, address each other. Yeah? So, and the thing is, we run a 24-hour service. You
24
can get us
hours.
round the clock. We don't. DV has no
There's no time. There's
yeah?
no time, yeah.
And although there's usually about 3 of us running the thing,
Wow.
yeah? What we advise people, first of all, is if you are in immediate danger and you feel like your life or you are there's a threat of harm, call 999.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we said.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't get to anybody in record time,
Right.
and if your life's in danger, that takes priority.
Right.
Yes, we're not saying that if you don't want to, you have to keep working them forever. But the idea is get yourself and whoever's with you out of immediate
Thank
danger.
you, yes.
Please, can we stop this? We don't deal with Babylon, something, because if the person is so culturally up there or so whatever, you wouldn't be harming her in the first place. So if you're telling us that we shouldn't judge Babylon, keep your hands and your nastiness to yourself. Keep your nasty. I'm going. Yeah. Keep your nastiness to yourself. Keep your dirty behaviour. Yeah. You are a coward. If you feel that you have to control somebody, physically, verbally, by belittling them or by removing finance or affection, then you need to check yourself, because the nastiness is within.
100%.
Yeah, it's within. All right. So we say to sisters, brothers, because brothers go through domestic abuse. I'm gonna tell you, even though we're a sister space, we acknowledge that there are some sisters out there not doing the right thing, and I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call you out. If not physical abuse, you can't see your children.
Yes.
If you know that
Torture.
you're using something else and it's not legit abuse, don't do it. Karma's a brute, and it will find you. So that being said, we usually find that it's males who are the usual abusers, right? And that's what we're dealing with.
Okay.
How can you find us? Our email address is sisterspace1@gmail.com.
We're going to put it down for everyone to have.
Your Instagram.
Your Instagram.
I don't say Twitter, I say Twitter.
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 You're on Twitter? Okay.
Yeah, Twitter. Sister _ space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Call it Instagram. Because anything you say,
call
just
it instant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. We're not hard to find.
Yeah.
Same spelling.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about anything, your age, your size,
I love it.
your that.
I love it.
Listen,
Come as you are.
Come as you are, you know.
Come as you are.
Yeah.
And also, I've got to say this: we're not the God Squad, and I don't mean that disrespectfully.
No, say it. Speak on it.
Listen,
Speak on it.
If you believe in Rastafari, you believe in Christian, if you're this, if you're that, if you don't believe in anybody, we're not here to judge you. It's a safe space.
Speak on it.
Yes,
Yes.
it's a safe space.
Yeah.
We just want you to be okay. We want you to be well, and we want you to be out
Mind,
of
body,
danger.
and soul.
Yeah.
Please,
Mind,
yeah.
body, and soul healing.
It's not a one size fits all. We can't solve a problem overnight, but we don't let you. We don't.
Go.
Oh, we worked with you and then we were closing the file. No. Once you contact us, for whatever you need us, we'll be there.
We appreciate.
Wrapping up.
Yes,
what we usually
we
wrap up on,
appreciate
if there's
you.
one thing you can change immediately, what would it like? What would it be?
General.
Discrimination, racism, because
Stereotyping.
Yes.
the Black Lives Matter, and we want to big up the Black Lives Matter UK people,
Please.
Renters
They
Union, Sisters Uncut, and we've an unusual thing that's happened. We've seen 3 political parties come together: the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, and Women's Equality Party have come together, and they are not. They don't look like some of them do and some of them don't. It's that equality thing. It's about seeing something you know is wrong and don't make colour get in the way of doing the right thing.
100%,
You see?
And just very
We have love
quickly
for
as well, just a big thank you also to a lot of brothers in the
And to
community
yourselves.
who have helped us, recognised us and support us also. So it's not so much about what we want changed, it's
Family,
about what's
you
happening.
see all of this, the Taboo Table?
We want to thank you guys because not just for coming today, but also for your platform. And again, like I'll keep saying this, we, growing up, didn't have anything like yourselves to run to. We only had family who never supported us back, and so I think it's so important, and you are saving so many lives by just doing what you're doing. So we appreciate you so much. Honestly, we appreciate you guys so much. Honestly, Sistah Space, thank you so much.
And we're going to have Sistah Spaces all over.
And we're going to be coming to you guys. We're going to come visit you guys. We've got another conversation.
Is your home?
Yes. Indeed.
Our home is your home.
Sistah Space and the Taboo Table. Okay.
Get to know.
Thank you guys so much.
That was a very good show.
That was good. I really, it's good because they're like able to kind of pass down their knowledge.
Yeah.
And yeah, we really appreciate Sistah Space for coming on.
Yeah.
And they left us with some words to live by. So I'm going to read Ngozi's one. I think she's got quite a few things to say.
Can't just have one.
Okay, so Ngozi says, it takes a village to raise a child, which it does. I should know. She's written more than one actually, so let me carry on.
Read it all.
She says, still I rise, which I think is a quote from Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou, yeah.
Okay, and then on the other side she says, on the shoulders of our ancestors we stand.
Oh, I love that one.
That's good. Thank you, Ngozi.
Thank you. And Rose said, every day you should learn something. The day you do not learn something is the day you have not lived.
Ooh.
African sayings.
Those are good. Thank you so much for watching, guys. It's a wrap. Don't forget to join in on the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #Taboo Table, #Therapeutic Banter. You can catch us all over social media, on Insta, on Twitter,
tell a friend to tell a friend,
Facebook. So tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. We're out. Bye.